Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our Sabbath class, the 14th of March, 2026. Okay. Our topic we'll be dealing with is the 400-year captivity deception. It's a lie. So I'm gonna, based off of the information that I've gathered and what I've talked about on this channel, we're gonna listen to that and we're gonna do a comparison and contrast. Okay, and plug in the holes. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine. Those videos lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Okay. Our hours of operation is Tuesday night. We have our Israelite briefing. It's on Prophets of Awakening. Then we on Wednesday nights we have our reading through the Tanakh. It's on our Prophets of Awakening channel. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. Then we have our Women's Advanced Bible Study on Thursday nights on our sister channel, which is Israel Wake Up, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. Then we have, excuse me, we have our Men's Advanced Bible Study every Friday night, 7 to 9 Central Time. It's on Prophets of Awakening. Okay. Then we have 2 Shabbat classes on Saturdays. One in the morning from 10 to 12 a.m. Central Time. Then we close out the Shabbat every evening. Starts at 6. Normally lasts an hour, hour and a half. And then we have our Sunday Advanced Bible Study. It's at 5 p.m. Central Time every Sunday. So any of those times that you feel the need to engage, or you want to engage, or you can come in through YouTube, or you can call 337-802-0889, and we can send you the link. That way you can get up and close and personal. Okay. So with that being said, this is a non-Messianic channel. For those that don't know, we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior, our Redeemer, and our Deliverer, the Lord of Hosts. Okay, this channel was created to aid and assist our Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity in these last days and understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our Sabbath class. Okay, we're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, songs. We have some current events, some need to know information. Our topic for discussion is why the church won't talk about Israel anymore. Okay. Then we go to our scripture reading. Like I said, scripture discussion. We'll be dealing with the 40-year captivity or deception. It's a lie. We're gonna play that video and we're gonna write it about it. Okay. Then we'll pick the scripture like we normally do at the end, break that scripture down, then we'll close out. Okay. So with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts. Okay, and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon and Samuel, Hezekiah and Jeremiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart, giving us an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimony, your statutes with all our heart and our soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. So with that being said, I'll read the Psalms right quick. Okay. Okay. I'll read Psalm 76. It's a victorious God. And it's a psalm of Asaph. In Judah is God known. His name is great in Israel. And Shalom also is his tabernacle and his dwelling place in Zion. There break he the arrows of the bow, the shield, and the sword, and the battle. Selah, thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. The stout-hearted are spoiled. They have slept their sleep, and none of the men of might have found their hands. At thy rebuke, O God of Jacob, both the chariot and the horse are cast into uh, a dead sleep. Even thou art to be feared, and who may stand in thy sight when once thou art angry? Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was still. When God arose to judgment to save all the meek of the earth, Selah, surely the wrath of man shall praise thee. The remainder of wrath shall thou restrain. Vow and pay unto the Lord your God. Let all that be round about him bring presents unto him that ought be feared. He shall cut off the spirit of princesses. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. So we're gonna look at this right quick. So the first one I want to shine light on was let me get it. Okay, it says in verse 9, when God arose, like I said, they tricked us off with these words and where they placed them at. So it says in 9, when God arose to judgment to save all the meek of the earth, Selah. So we know judgment. We know who bring forth judgment. The Lord of hosts bring forth judgment. Okay. Yeah, verse 9 is what I want to read. It says, verse 8, thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was filled. So a precept to tie that to is when he came to Abraham in chapter 18 to deal with, he was on his way to deal with Sodom and Gomorrah. And then we know the Lord of hosts talked with Abraham face to face. Two angels went on to Sodom, and Abraham stayed there with the Lord of hosts, the judge. He's going to judge Sodom and Gomorrah. So once he get there, then it says fire and brimstone fell from heaven. He on the earth, but fire and brimstone fell from heaven. And we see right here in verse 8, thou didst call judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was still. Okay, so with that affirmate. Okay, and then the other one is 11. Said, I'm always telling you about vows and how serious they are when you make vows to the Lord. When you're in a pickle and you pray to the Lord and make a vow to him, and then you disregard the vow. Okay, when it means everything in the world to him. So it says, vow and pay unto the Lord. See that? Vow and pay unto the Lord your God. And let all that be round about him bring presence unto him that ought be feared. So another back to another revelation I talked about was the typology that they use, how they create the New Testament. So in the New Testament, they got us they got people when JC was born, bringing presents to him. So we see right here who it is that received the present. It says in 11, vow, pay pay unto the Lord your God, and let all that be around about him, it's the Lord of hosts, bring presents unto him, not to the little baby in the manger. Bring presents unto him that ought be feared. That ought be feared. Okay. Any comments, questions? Okay. No comments or questions?
It is being reported.
Okay, we're gonna go to our current event. Okay. Tie your shoes up. Who's on in? Okay, here go the first one.
Reported that the United States is preparing to send additional forces to the Middle East as the war with Iran enters its third week. Thousands of U.S. Marines are expected to be.
So, like we've been talking about, we know that if they send all these Marines and soldiers to the Middle East, a draft coming.
Though it's not yet clear how they would be deployed, President Trump said today that the Islamic Republic will be hit very hard over the next week. Let's go straight to Washington and our State Department correspondent, Tom Bateman. What more do we know about these deployments?
Sophie, this is a deployment of the USS Tripoli, which is an amphibious assault ship, alongside up to 5,000 troops, about half of which it is thought will be US Marines. Now, this is a task force that is trained in things like carrying out amphibious landings, securing maritime chokeholds. So exactly the kind of situation that the global shipping industry is currently facing in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is not a public official announcement by the Trump administration, but it's being briefed by US officials tonight. This task force is currently in Japan. It will take them about 2 weeks to reach the Middle East. At the same time, US bombing raids have continued into Iran all day. I was in a briefing earlier with Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary, saying this would be the highest number of strikes today, and US Central Command releasing pictures of nighttime bombing raids by B-2 stealth bombers. At the same time, President Trump is continuing to threaten escalation to the Iranian regime. Meanwhile, the message for Americans back at home has been very much about him dictating the course of this conflict. He was asked today, when would it be over? And he said, soon. He said, this will end when he feels it in his bones.
Tom Bateman, thank you. Well, the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the US and Israel have so far hit 15,000 targets since the war began 2 weeks ago tomorrow, according to the motoring organization, the RAC. Today, the Chancellor met representatives from the Petrol Retailers Association who accused the government of using inflammatory language about profiteering from the crisis. They said petrol retailers were keeping prices competitive and, in some cases, even losing money. Here's our economics editor, Faisal Islam.
The effective closure of the Straits of Hormuz in recent days has been unprecedented. The Iran conflict playing out in Gulf waters, sending a wave of inflation across the world. Including today, up Downing Street, with petrol bosses summoned to number 11 after the Energy Secretary Ed Miliband told the BBC action would be taken against price gouging and rip-offs.
We're doing all we can to provide fuel at competitive prices for our customers.
Are you taking advantage of people, though?
No, we're not.
His Petrol Retailers Association had threatened to boycott the meeting after saying ministerial language had led to abuse of staff at the pumps. The Chancellor told bosses they had to keep prices down. Here's what's actually happened to petrol prices. In under 2 weeks of this conflict, they are up about 8 pence per litre to an 18-month high. And diesel, well, that's up even more, nearly 17p per litre in that 2-week period. And that, in turn, is driven by these trends in the crude oil price, which has been up and then volatile hour by hour, but settling around $100 a barrel, higher than it was before the conflict. And that's despite the emergency release of hundreds of millions of barrels of stockpiled oil around there. And this, in turn, is what's driving the oil price, as we've shown the tanker traffic in the Gulf at the Strait of Hormuz. That's a choke point, and it's coming to a standstill compared to, say, the same day last year. Nothing is officially getting through. Now, hundreds of millions of barrels of oil is stuck in the Gulf, either on tankers, in storage, or simply left in the ground. And today we've been hearing from the crew of a tanker stuck here in the Gulf.
Every day on the ship, I can see missile launches and hear explosions, making me feel like I'm in danger.
Here is the maritime reality radio messages from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
Attention all ships, every navigating from the Strait of Hormuz is banned from now on.
The US Defense Secretary adamant that these key tankers should sail, but could not guarantee US naval escorts.
And as the world is seeing, they are exercising sheer desperation in the Straits of Hormuz. Something we're dealing with, we have been dealing with it, and don't need to worry about it.
The Gulf energy shock, about to enter its third week, now prompting a furious debate about how to ensure more secure and cheaper British energy supplies into the future. Faisal Islam, BBC News.
Well, the rapidly rising oil prices have prompted the United States to say it will loosen sanctions on other countries buying Russian oil and petroleum that's already loaded on ships at sea. The Kremlin welcomed the move, but Ukraine's President Zelensky warned that easing sanctions on Russia wouldn't help bring peace in Ukraine and said it would give Russia more money for war. Our diplomatic correspondent Paul Adams reports.
Okay, so we see right here they're moving in 5,000 Marines to bring another assault ship, and they're catching hell in the Strait of Hormuz. Any comments on that? Feedback? Okay, so with that being said, since I've been into this situation, and a lot of the things I've learned, I notice how these Edomites and powers that be play us as Hebrew Israelites, the ones that's waking up. And this is one of the examples right here. Let me just play this right quick. I was showing you yesterday how my man was telling you about how all these different end time events that these different religions have, when actually they all working together, they all being incorporated in this end time show that the powers to be then created. But check this out.
For thousands of years, Jewish people have lived in many lands. But one question remains. Who are the true descendants of ancient Israel?
Check it out.
Are they the Sephardic Jews who came from Spain and Portugal? Or the Ashkenazi Jews who settled in...
So let's look at that before I finish playing this. So neither one of these groups of people is Israelites. The Ashkenazi, which we've been on this line, should know what the Ashkenazi is. But the Sephardic Jews, you got a bunch of Negroes being hoodwinked with who the Sephardic Jews are. He just told you the Sephardic Jews coming out of Spain, right? The Spanish Jews. So, I also, in the process time through this channel, I broke down when the Israelites left the land of Israel. They left in 143 BC when Antiochus and the Greeks came. The third beast, right before the fourth beast, that's when they fled, according to what Antiochus was doing. And that's in First Maccabees. All right. So when they fled, Esau came in and stole the land in the book of Obadiah, and he posing as the Israelites. So it didn't start. It started in 143 BC. So from 143 BC to 70 AD, Edomites in the land, posing as Israelites. Okay. So then Titus and Vespasian in 70 AD ran them out. Okay. And when he ran them out, he gave Herod and his lineage safe passage to Spain. And like I said, all you have to do is look at how all the bits of the world transpired to this point. It started in Spain when they sent the 3 ships out, the Nina, the Pina, and the Santa Maria. They sent them out looking for a land because these Jews getting persecuted. These Edomites they got curses on them. In Ezekiel 35, I'm always reading it. Let me read a little bit of it. But you go to Ezekiel 35, and these the curses of the Edomites. They posing as Israelites. They're not Israelites, but the whole world, based on the last 2,500 years, they got the whole world thinking they're the Israelites. So somebody that's limited in knowledge, they thinking these people are Israelites, but they're not. So let me read that right quick. And get back to what I was doing. Okay, let me Ezekiel 35. Right quick. Okay, so Ezekiel 35. Okay, and it says right here, it's the prophecy against Mount Seir. Mount Seir is Esau. That's where he dwelled at. Moreover, the word of the Lord, it's the Lord of hosts, came unto Ezekiel, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, against Esau, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate, and I will lay thy cities to waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. And then here you go. This is the reason why he's doing this. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword. In the time, here you go, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So what iniquity? When he kicked them out the land of Israel, that Daniel prophesied about. Time, the indignation that came to a full in the book of Daniel. Daniel in the captivity in Babylon. So it came to full, the prince that shall come in Daniel chapter 10, verse 27, 26, 27. Antiochus came, ran the Israelites out. That was in 143 BC. And we see that in Obadiah, when Israel was kicked out, Jacob, Esau came in and stole the land by Lot, start calling himself by the same name. That's what the Lord hosts is revealing right here. Ezekiel 35:5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity came to an end. Therefore, here you go. He the judge, the Lord of hosts, not Yahweh. Therefore, as I live, says the Lord God, I will prepare unto thee blood. Blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So when you understand these people, these Edomite history, blood has followed them. We saw what happened in the Holocaust. They living in the fat places of the earth. When you go to the prophecy that Isaac gave him, okay, he told him you're gonna live in the fat places of the earth, but the sword gonna follow you. So he got all the wealth, just like we're looking at today. But this curse is following him, blood. And so he's looking for a place to get away from this. That's why he sent the Nina and Lapina and the Santa Marina out to find a land where he can try to get away from, a place that he can be peace. But it ain't no peace for him because the Lord is cold trailing him everywhere he go. So anyway, that's what they were sent to Spain by Titus and Vespasian. These are the Sephardic Jews. You got Negroes you got Israelites in Spain too, but the main ones where the drama is at is these Ashkenazi Jews. They were sent to Spain, but like I said, they wasn't in captivity. Okay, so we gotta understand that. So let's keep going. Now we're gonna go back to the video. So you sitting there listening and don't understand this. It's a misnomer because the Sephardic Jews and the Ashkenazi, both of them imposters. Okay, here we go.
Europe. Their history is filled with exile, survival, and mystery. But modern science and history may reveal an unexpected truth. Stay with us as we go deep into this story. You won't want to miss what we uncover. Imagine a man standing beneath a starry sky, staring into the vast unknown. He is alone, yet not alone. A voice, deep and eternal, speaks to him. Look up at the heavens and count the stars. So shall your descendants be. This man is Abraham, the father of a nation yet to be born. His journey would set the course of history, shaping the destiny of an entire people, the people of Israel. Abraham's faith was tested again and again.
This is what it means by, in Genesis, holy seduced. So you're being wholly seduced right here. Because you have in the right place, you ain't dealing with the right information, you're being wholly seduced. Okay? And this all these Edomites do all over the place. Wholly seducing people. Not only, especially us, but not only us, all over. They got the Gentile wholly seduced.
He left his homeland, wandered through foreign lands, and even stood ready to sacrifice his beloved son, Isaac, believing that God had a greater plan. From Isaac came Jacob, a man who wrestled with angels. And
he's using our forefathers, but applying it to our enemies. Let that remain.
Received a new name, Israel. His 12 sons would become the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel, each carrying a unique identity, yet bound by a shared promise. These tribes flourished in Egypt, but their fate took a dark turn. From honored guests, they became enslaved under the might of Pharaoh. Centuries of suffering followed, chains, whips, and cruel oppression. But just when all seemed lost, a leader arose. Moses, a man raised in the palace of his oppressors, led his people to freedom, crossing the Red Sea into destiny. The Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years, forging their identity in the fire of trials. They received the law at Mount Sinai, establishing a covenant that would define them for generations. Finally, they entered the Promised Land, building a kingdom under kings like David and Solomon, whose wisdom and power were legendary. But history is never kind for too long. The mighty kingdom fell, shattered by invading empires. The Babylonians stormed Jerusalem, burning the sacred temple of Solomon to the ground. The Jewish people were exiled, forced to leave behind.
I'm advising everybody to go and watch this too, because, like I said, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So what you're listening to, you're hearing it audibly, and they're talking about our forefathers. But you got to look at the pictures, the images that they're showing. Okay.
Behind their land, their home, their dreams. Yet exile did not destroy them. Scattered across foreign lands, they held onto their faith, their traditions, and the hope of returning one day. This was only the beginning of a long and painful journey, one that would lead to a question still asked today. Who are the true descendants of Israel? And as we unravel this mystery, the answer may surprise you. Stay with us. The flames rose high above Jerusalem, turning night into day. The Second Temple, the heart of Jewish life, was burning. Roman legions stormed the city, their swords cutting through centuries of faith, tradition, and hope. It was
right there, what I was talking about. He went from Solomon Temple that Nebuchadnezzar destroyed to when the Romans came with Titus and Vespasian. He haven't dealt with when Antioch Epiphanes came and what he done. Let me read some of that. Okay. Here we go. I'm in First Maccabees. Like I said, they got it ducked off somewhere, being wholly seduced. Okay, here we go. Here we go, right here. These Edomites. Okay, so it came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, son of Philip, came from the land of Checham and utterly defeated Darius, king of the Medes and Persians, that he reigned in his stead as he had before reigned over Greece. It's the third beast. And he waged wars and captured fortresses, slaughtered the kings of the earth, right? Okay, yeah. It says, let me keep going. Kings of the earth The whole earth was silent before him. He became exalted, and his heart was uplifted. He mustered a very mighty army, ruled over the lands of rulers and heathens, and they paid him tribute. Afterwards, he fell sick and knew that he was going to die. So he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him, divided the kingdom among them while he was alive. Alexander had reigned 12 years when he died. Now here we go. His servants succeeded him, each in his own dominion. After his death, they all put on crowns and did as did their sons after them for many years. And they did much evil on the earth. None of this is in the Bible. Okay, you gotta understand that. That's why you believe what you believe. There sprang from them, here goes Daniel 10 and 26. There sprung from them a sinful shoot named Antiochus Epiphanes, son of the king Antiochus, and he had been a hostage in Rome. See that? And he became king in the 137th, this 137th year of the Greek kingdom, third beast. In those days, there arose out of Israel lawless men who persuaded many. Then here we go. Here go the 7-year treaty that they want you to think getting ready to happen with the Antichrist. It already happened. Let us go and make a treaty. This is a treaty right here with the heathen around us. For ever since the time that we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. Now here you go, the plan, 7-year plan. Okay. The plan seemed good in their eyes, and some of the people went eagerly to the king. It's the king of fierce countenance in Daniel, and he authorized them to introduce practices to the heathen, and they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem. So nobody talk about that. Gymnasium in Jerusalem in the heathen fashion, and submitted to uncircumcision and disown. Here you go. Disown the holy agreement. Okay, that's the Torah and the circumcision on the foreskin. They allied themselves with the heathen and became slaves to wrongdoing. So this wrongdoing ain't just started. Like I said, 2,500 years ago is when all this went down. Now here go the temple I'm talking about. Because they just skipped over it. They went from Nebuchadnezzar destroying the Solomon temple to Vespasian and Titus. But here go the second temple, Zerubbabel temple. After subduing Egypt, this Antiochus Epiphanes, after subduing Egypt in the 143rd year, like I just said, Antiochus turned back. It's the prince, I said in Daniel 10, verse 26, turned back and came up against Israel, entered in Jerusalem with a strong force, and in his arrogance, he went into the sanctuary, took the gold altar, the lampstand for the lights, all the furniture of the table of the presentation bread, and the cups, the bowls, the gold censers, the curtains, the crowns, the gold ornamentation on the front of the temple, for he stripped it all off. Took the silver and the gold, the choice dishes, and he took the secret treasures which he found. He took them all and went back to his country, and he massacred people, and he spoke with great arrogance. So this is what the Lord is talking about when he says Israel iniquity came to an end. When Daniel said that, this is what he's talking about. When Antiochus came, and there was a great mourning everywhere throughout Israel. Rulers and elders groaned, girls and young men fainted away. The beauty of the women was altered. Every bride began to lament, and she that sat in the bridal chamber grieved. The very earth was shaken over its inhabitants, and the whole household of Jacob was covered with shame. The whole household of Jacob was covered. This was in 143 BC, not 70 AD. Okay, and then you got to ask yourself, where is all the furniture? What kind of furniture is that in the temple when in 70 AD? If it already got taken right here. So the same thing, we're looking at these fake descendants of Israel, everything fake. Like I said, we've been seriously seduced, wholly seduced. Okay? So you have to understand that. So right here, they got a video trying to separate or distinguish between the Sephardic Jews and the Ashkenazi when they one and the same. The Ashkenazi is from Japhet, which is Cain descendants, and the Sephardic Jew is from Esau. Neither one of them had nothing to do with the temple in Jerusalem or our God or the Tanakh or Torah. Okay, and like I say, if you come to some kind of conclusion on one of these two, it's a problem because neither one of them fit the bill. Play a little more of this.
It was 70 CE, and the world of ancient Israel had shattered. The streets were filled with cries of despair, families torn apart, elders whispering prayers as they were dragged away. The Jewish people, once united under one land, were now cast into exile. Some were taken as slaves to Rome, paraded as trophies in chains. Others fled, searching for safety in lands unknown.
Right.
But
so see how they covering over everything smooth, been covered over. And then notice they scattered too. Israel, true Israelites are scattered, but before this, then they were scattered. And now we see, I was showing last night how now they orchestrating a return. They orchestrated one in 1948, but now that they're getting ready to build this temple, now they causing all this drama over the world, and now all the Jews going, these fake Jews going back. But everybody, because of the scene that's been set, everybody think they're Israelites. And if you don't know this, you'll be, like I said, you'll be forever falling back in the dark. Okay? Because you don't know this, you off. Like I said, it's two Enochs, two Lamechs, two Methuselahs. You gotta understand that, what these people have done. And so while in other videos I talked about, man, this information right here is devastating because it just was revealed to me. Because I understood who they were and the things they had done, and I understand what had happened, but I didn't, the information, the actual hands-on information came. So I talked about how they, way back, they killed, these same people, the ones killed the Julius Caesar. They killed Julius Caesar, these Edomites, not Israelites. They killed Julius Caesar, okay? And he come on down, all these people, they killed Alexander. Bartholomew killed Alexander. Darius, they're killing all these people. But I told you about how came all the way down to when you understand how the Federal Reserve was brought into place with Jekyll Island and all that. They eventually took control of the Federal Reserve, but they killed a lot of people in the process. So JFK, one of them. Same people that killed Caesar killed JFK. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, let's look at it. It hit me broadside this morning when I was looking on YouTube. Check it out. I mean, I'm gonna let you figure out whether you think I know what I'm talking about or not.
May 18th, 1963.
Check it out.
The White House, Washington, D.C. President John F. Kennedy sits at his desk composing a letter. The letter is addressed to David Ben-Gurion, Prime Minister of Israel.
Fake-ass Jew.
Kennedy is choosing his words carefully. He is about to threaten one of America's closest allies. Kennedy writes, "This government's commitment to and support of Israel could be seriously jeopardized if it should be thought that we were unable to obtain reliable information on a subject as vital to peace as the question of Israel's effort in the nuclear field." This is diplomatic language, but the meaning is clear. Kennedy is threatening to cut American support to Israel unless Israel allows full inspections of its nuclear facility at Dimona in the Negev desert. Kennedy suspects Israel is building nuclear weapons, and Kennedy is determined to stop it. Less than 1 month after receiving this letter, David Ben-Gurion will resign as Prime Minister of Israel. 6 months after sending this letter, John F. Kennedy will be dead. And within 4 years, Israel will have nuclear weapons. This is the story of why JFK tried to stop Israel's nuclear program, what he discovered about Israel's deception, and how his death removed the greatest obstacle to Israel becoming a nuclear power. Let's begin by understanding how Israel started building nuclear weapons and how the United States discovered it. Israel was founded on May 14, 1948. From the beginning, Israeli leaders believed their survival depended on military superiority over surrounding Arab states. Israel fought wars with its Arab neighbors in 1948, 1949, and faced continued threats. Israeli leaders, particularly David Ben-Gurion, concluded that Israel needed nuclear weapons. In the 1950s, Israel began seeking nuclear technology. France agreed to help. France and Israel had developed a close relationship. Both countries opposed Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser.
So when listening to this, you can see that this ain't just start. But the point is, and the light I want to shine on this is, back in the day, they was operating we was in the dark. The Creator hadn't opened our eyes up. But now he opening up some of our eyes up, and we looking at some of this stuff. But it ain't just started. Like I told you, these people killed Julius Caesar. And if you can't see that they killed JFK, something wrong. So you want to watch this video, you can finish watching it. I just wanted to shine a light on that for you to see what that I'm just not blowing hot air. But anyway, the name of it is Why Did JFK Try to Stop Israeli Nuclear Program? You can watch it, get you some popcorn and listen to it. So with that being said, any comments on the video? Questions? Comments? Okay, we're gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, any comments, any dialogue, testimonies, anything they came across? Anybody got anything?
Shalom, everyone. Yes, sir. And the part the clip you were just playing, there's a passage in the Bible. Let me get to it. In 2 Kings, and I just wanted to know if this is the same people. When you were talking about Sephardic Jews, 2 Kings 17, 23 through 25. Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. So in verse 24, where it says, and the from Sepharvaim, are those the same people now in 2026 and for years now that have been claiming to be Sephardic Jews?
Right. So if you look at that, so he took the 10 tribes out, replaced them with heathen nations. So the Sephardics, they came from Spain, but they're not Jews, right? They came from Spain. He brought 10 different nations in and put one in each tribe. They're not. This is
Yes,
this is
sir.
why Samaria. This is why Samaria is so wicked. They're not Israelites. So they had to go and get what you just read. They had to go get real priests, and they brought them back and taught them how to be Jews. That's why they're so wicked, because they're not Israelites. And like I said, these are the same people when the Most High took the Israelites out, and then he took Judah out when they came back after the 70-year captivity. That's the reason why Cyrus gave them all the gold they needed. They had to go back and redeem the people. The Sumerians, if you notice, the people that sent the letters to Cyrus and to Darius, they sent the letters back say these people came back. Those are the people from the 10 tribes. They're not Israelites that he placed in the land. So one of those nations was Spain. It's Sephardics. So then you say, what are you talking about? Well, when Herod is the king of the Jews, he's an Edomite, but they got him king of the Jews. When Titus and Vespasian came, he got to understand they kinfolks. Titus showed them favoritism, sent them back to Spain, where they came from. Okay, and then, like I said, everything that we see happening in the world history from that point on started in Spain and Portugal. Them the Sephardic Jews. Them ain't no Israelites. You got Israelites that's been scattered in all over the world, Israelites in Spain and Portugal, but that's not them. These Sephardic Jews they're not Israelites. They're Edomites.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And also, you can go to Obadiah. The last 3 or 4 verses in Obadiah talk about the Sephardic Jews too. Okay, so anyway, you got something else?
Yes, sir. Last question. It's 4 verses in Psalm 71. It's David. Thy righteousness also, O God, verse 19, is very high. Who has done great things, O God, who is like unto thee? Thou which hast showed me great and sore troubles, shalt quicken me again, and shalt bring me up again from the depths of the earth. Thou shalt increase my greatness, and comfort me on every side. I will also praise thee with the psaltery, even thy truth. O my God, unto thee will I sing with the harp, O thou Holy One of Israel. Brother Leonard, I had not paid attention to this before, but it sounds like David knew before he died that he would be raised up again. So I'm just, that surprises me. I know we know that he will be raised up, but he says, shalt quicken me again, and shalt bring me up again from the depths of the earth. Thou shalt increase my greatness and comfort me on every side. And within this chapter 71, David is giving all types of praise and honor to the Lord of hosts. And it's just overwhelming, because it's making clear that David knew that he would be raised up again. And he even says earlier, before verse 19, that before he dies, he wants to let all the generation living and all those after him know who the Lord of hosts is, that he wants to leave something for the Israelites to remember. But verse 20 is what gets me. Which has showed me great and sore troubles, shall quicken me again, and shall bring me up again from the depths of the earth. So it almost presents like he knew the Israelites were going to go through a sore time and get through it, and that he was going to come back from the earth, from death.
Right.
So I had not read that.
Right. So that's what I've been screaming on this channel for for Israelites to line up, because this 101 in 2026 What I'm saying. So not only David knew, they all knew. The Lord of hosts had told all of them, you're going to judge the angels in the end. So if they die, they got to come back. They're going to judge the angels. That's why when you go to Daniel, he says the saints of the Most High are going to take the kingdom. What's the saint? They all knew. You go to Ezekiel 37, the dry bones. It's all right there. And that's what I'm saying. It's shameful. Because you don't see that. That's one-on-one. That's like going to your refrigerator and get some ice, get you some ice water. That's how simple that is. It's all over the scriptures. Isaiah 66. He says he's going to raise up the voice and went to the temple where David buried at. And he raised, and a man-child was raised up. It's David. And then he keep going, and he said, a nation is born at once. That's all of them. And then he tell them, you're going to be satisfied with the breast of their constellation. All of them. He done resurrect all of them. That's what Malachi talking about. When he says that Elijah, he's going to bring, that's the purpose of Elijah. He's going to resurrect our forefathers and the descendants that's on earth today, he's going to bring them together. That's what Ezekiel 30, Isaiah 66 talking about. And then 2 Samuel chapter 23. When I'm always reading it, when David says that he died, but then the Lord came on a cloud and took him in the Lord's place and resurrected him. It's all over. It's not New Testament got Negroes thrown off. But he's telling you point blank what's gonna happen. They giving all this symbology on Ezekiel 37. Whenever you see when he say I'm gonna raise David up. Let me read this right quick because you just read that verse. It said quicken, right? Watch this. So you go to Isaiah. Sir. You go to Isaiah chapter 11. So I mean, there's something wrong. So I'm in Isaiah, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. That's David. He dead right here. And the spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. These are 7 angels. The spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. 1. The spirit of wisdom. 2. And understanding. 3. The spirit of counsel. 4. Might. 5. The spirit of knowledge. 6. And the fear of the Lord. 7. That's the 7 angels. And shall make him of a quick, just like you just read. Shall make him of a quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes. This David. He shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, nor reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove the iniquity of the meek and of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with a rod with his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. So they took this and put it on JC in Revelations got a vesture on him, dipped in blood, all this bull crap. But right here is David, and that's why he tells you in Ezekiel 37, and David, my servant, shall be king. But these Hebrew Christians, the first thing when they see David, they say Jesus. But it's David. Okay. Anybody else got anything on that? Any comments on that? Okay, everybody good? So,
yes,
okay. So with that being said, yeah, and like I said, that's something simple. Like I said, you got all these so-called scholars, all these. So I mean, come and debunk that. That's what I'm saying. And then when you don't want to deal with what you're saying, that's why it's simple. That's been uncovered. Come on, you can no longer deal with what's being portrayed to us when the Creator then broke it down. He got people he done delivered it to, and they breaking it down. You can't get out of it. There's no way you get out of it. So anyway, I'm gonna read this, play this right quick. This is another one of them.
African nations are pushing for an international resolution that could label the transatlantic slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity in history, and they are preparing to put Britain's role directly under the spotlight. Ghana is expected to introduce the resolution at the United Nations later this month on behalf of the African Union. This proposal seeks formal recognition of the European-led transatlantic slave trade as a historic crime of unprecedented scale, pointing to its vast human toll and its long-lasting economic and social consequences.
So let's look at it. Like I said before, I'm talking about it, but I'm saying things, but it's going over people's head. So, but I realize it's the spirit of the Most High. If the spirit of the Most High on them, they're gonna get it. If they don't, it's something wrong. So anyway, what we're looking at right here, said the UN debate had a debate going on making what happened in the transatlantic slave trade a crime of humanity, right? So what's that judgment? The judge, okay, he showed up to Sodom and Gomorrah to judge it. So what we dealing with right now is judgment. These people thought they was gonna get the judge that showed up. The court, the judge is here. That's what we're looking at. Okay. So with that being said, my topic for discussion is play this. Get some feedback.
So you might want to.
Here we go.
You might want to just focus on.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Being a shift in the attitude towards Israel. And I was like, what is going on? I'm seeing more and more Christians that in Christianity it used to be like just a given that we support Israel. That's just how it felt like you just had to be, right? But I've been seeing more and more people kind of turning on Israel. And I'm like, what is going on? So do you guys know the history of how we got to where we are with Israel?
No.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second.
No,
it has a little bit to do with what we're seeing now, but it's more so how did we get to where the U.S. seems to be best friends with Israel and why so many Christians seem to be so protective of Israel?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why that is?
Yeah, incorrect interpretation of scripture.
Yeah, they're thinking that we are supposed to join with Israel as the nation for
the return of Christ. That's what I've consistently heard.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into it. So you guys know that Israel became a country again in 1948.
Yeah, 48. Yeah.
1948, they became a country again. And in 1967, they took full control over Jerusalem. Okay. And then in 2017, Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem. So those were some key things. There was a time in people's lives in the US where Israel was not a country. So you got to keep that in mind, that them becoming a country after the fall of the Ottoman Empire and all of that stuff and Britain taking control, them becoming a country was a big deal, especially if you know end times prophecy. Mm-hmm. That was a big deal. So imagine there's people alive today that are like, whoa, something crazy just happened. You call your friends. Israel is a country again. That's direct light bulb for somebody who knows end times prophecy, right? So we're kind of used to it now because we grew up with it. That's just a fact. But think about the people alive today that were born before 1948. All right, so here's why Christians feel so protective of Israel. So everybody knows the first temple was built by Solomon. It was destroyed by the Babylonians. Mm-hmm. They rebuilt it. Then the second temple was destroyed by the Romans.
There you go. You follow the narrative. That's what's wrong with all these Negroes.
The AD. Remember, Jesus predicted no stone will be. He was talking about himself, but also the real temple. Right. All right. So there's a group of people in Israel right now. They're called the Temple Institute. That they're trying to rebuild the third temple.
So when that started, people were like, "Whoop, ding, 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 end times prophecy." Because remember, the third temple is going to be destroyed. All the nations are supposed to close in on Israel. So like, there's things happening that are like ringing bells in people's heads, right?
Right.
Have you guys heard of the red heifer?
Yeah, you brought it up last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in ceremonial Israel, they had to take a perfect red heifer, no blemishes. They took the ashes of the red heifer, and that helped to anoint the temple and purification rites and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They took, I think from Texas, I can't remember what state, but from the U.S. sent them like a certain amount of, I can't remember how many, but they got red heifers delivered to Israel. Ding ding.
So what state was it? Anybody know what state it was? Anybody know what state they brought the red heifers from?
Was it Texas?
Yeah, Texas. So my point, the reason I asked that question was to let you know how far ahead of the game that you is. Okay.
Ding. That's another one that's like, okay, people are like, okay, something's happening. End times. We're in the end times now because they have the red heifer. They're trying to build the temple. These are all like big deals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the problem. Why don't they just build the third temple? So right now, where the temple is supposed to go is called the Temple Mount. And right now, the Temple Mount contains the Al-Aqsa. The Al-Aqsa is a kind of a courtyard that has a mosque on it, the Dome of the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, Israel got remade as a country, and then they took over Jerusalem. But the Temple Mount is still Muslim owned.
Right.
They still own the area, and no one besides a Muslim is supposed to be able to pray in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the conflict. That's why you're seeing a lot of conflict between Palestine and all that. It's because of that area. They want it back, can't have it back because it will cause a war. All right. So that's where we're right now. There's groups of Israelites that want to rebuild the temple. They can't because Muslims have their mosque there. It's also where they believe that Muhammad ascended to heaven and went on a spiritual journey and all that. So they have their Dome of the Rock is where they believe he ascended from, right? So it's a huge deal, this area. So imagine all of this stuff happening and you saw this. So now it makes sense why Jews want to have that temple because they believe the temple is needed because the Messiah, remember, they're still waiting on the Messiah.
To come,
they believe the Messiah is gonna rule from the temple, right? Why does Christians care about any of that stuff? Okay, so have you heard of dispensationalism?
Yes.
Okay, so dispensationalism is a belief that there are dispensations. There's 7 dispensations throughout history. There's a Garden of Eden, which was the innocence dispensation. Conscience, which is the fall and the flood, we talked about a couple weeks ago. Human government, promise, which was Abraham, law of Moses, grace, which is what we're living in now, the church age, and then the millennial kingdom. So there's a group of Christians that are trying to bring about the end times and the millennial kingdom. So they're trying to orchestrate the events so that it can come faster.
Kind of like design
Christian nationalism.
This movement.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Right. So that's where we are right now, where you see so many people in government and all this stuff where it sounds like they're kind of like protective of Israel, excited when these things happen. There's a large amount of Christians that believe that it's our job to protect Israel and kind of help foster some of these events.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about all of that? And what do you think the role of a Christian is when it comes to end times prophecy? This is called eschatology, the future events of the end and all of that kind of stuff. Should we be meddling in end times events, trying to make them happen?
No.
Or is it up to God to make those things happen and we should be leaving it alone?
Yeah, it just depends.
What? So my man just broke that down last night. That was the reason I played that, eschatology. Like I said, another trick. Same way they used typology. It's all Greek, Edomites. Okay. And nothing to do with us.
My personal take from my individual life is I'm just trying to, what I feel like I'm called to do, just share the gospel with as many people as possible.
You ain't called. Yeah, come on, man.
So many can, hopefully be saved, and God decides to do that. I just plant the water; He provides the increase. There are some people who are very well versed and skilled as it pertains to eschatology, who are able to teach that to people in such a way that it can be very beneficial. So,
like I said, holy seduce, smoking mirrors.
With other disciples, he performed miracles. He did all these different things, but Judas was never a part. He was a thief from the beginning.
Here's what it could mean, and this would still align with the promise that Abraham was passed to the church. What they may mean by grafted in is that the gospel went to the Jews first. So Jews were converting to Christianity first. Remember, they had to deal with Peter on. I think God allows it to look so.
You're not going to have peace, first of all. Because when he was out there doing this thing, whatever, partying and tricking off and doing all that kind of stuff, he found himself in.
So, like I said, these are people all over America that people listening to. It's shameful. Okay, anybody got anything on that? Okay, nobody got nothing. Like I said, put this video on. I'll put this video on Messenger. I'm gonna play it right now, and we're gonna go through it. Like I said, you're way ahead of the game than a lot of these other channels. Okay, because the information that you receiving. So here we go. I'm always talking about this.
Charts. 16.
I'm always talking about this. So I gotta give a brother credit for the information, but I think you have to go a little further into it, and then you gotta do something with that pride.
Today I'm going to show you some very important information. I'm going to show you the era that we've been living in that we call the 400-year captivity. And then I'm going to show you why Christians attack the Torah. And I'm going to show you why people have trouble with understanding. So I'm going to touch on several different topics throughout this lesson. So I'm going to need you to pay very close attention to every single word. And if possible, open your books.
Yeah, so I've been saying over and over and over again for 20 years, 15, 20 years that the 400-year prophecy happened in Egypt. When you read Genesis 15, the 400-year prophecy happened in Egypt, not here in America. So you shouldn't be surprised on all these other lies I didn't uncovered. So that's the reason I'm playing this, because I talked about it time and time again. Check it out.
Today we're going to walk through the true prophetic timeline of our people. Not the overlays, not the doctrines, not the identity myths, but the actual timeline given in Torah, the prophets and jubilees. This lesson will answer 3 core questions. What happened to our people? Where are we right now in prophecy? And what comes next for the remnant? To understand our present condition, we must first understand the categories that the Most High uses to describe his people's journey. There are 2 major prophetic categories. Number 1, the 400-year prophecy, which is, by the way, a closed, completed event. I'll explain later. And number 2, the exile timeline. This is the long, ongoing condition that we're living in today. And we must never mix these 2. And that's exactly what we've done. So before I teach the remnant where we are, I must teach them how to think. Most people approach prophecy with,
I've been saying that over and over again, thinking like a Hebrew. He's cyborging. Thinking like a Hebrew. Check it out.
Mixed categories, Christian overlays, Egypt-only assumptions, 1619 doctrines, identity performers, emotional interpretations, cultural trauma, and inherited confusion. This is simply to purify these categories, because if the categories are wrong, the conclusion will always be wrong. So this will separate the 400-year prophecy from the exile timeline. It will separate the patriarchal affliction from the national scattering. It will separate awakening from gathering, and it will separate identity from performance, while separate the remnant from the crowd. And last but not least, separate Torah from religion. This is the architecture the remnant must stand on. So the two great prophetic categories that will be addressed in this lesson, before we can understand exile, we must understand what we lost. Israel's story begins with order, not chaos, not confusion, not oppression, not identity loss, but order. The Most High establishes a covenant with Israel that creates a stable, protected, elevated nation. This is not a spiritual metaphor. It's a national structure. Under obedience, Israel experiences identity stability. They know who they are. They know whose they are. They know their role among the nations. So identity is not a performance, it's a function. Land stability, they live in the land promised to their fathers. The land responds to them. The land yields to them. And the land protects them. That land is not symbolic. It's the inheritance. Household stability. Husband and wife, get this. Fathers, lead. Stay in your lane. Mothers, nurture. Stay in your lane. And the children inherit. And then the generations continue. Now, household is not emotional. It's architecture. Spiritual stability means the Most High dwells among them. His presence orders their steps. His law orders their minds.
Like I said, all this right here is good. Believe me, it's good.
His wisdom orders their decisions. Spirituality is not emotional. It's alignment. This is the ideal state of Israel, the state that exile destroys. We're going to talk about exile. The remnant must understand this, because you cannot understand the depth of exile until you understand the height of what was lost. Now, Torah is not meant for everyone to understand. This is a big problem.
Okay, go
and
back.
Until I get you to understand the reason behind alignment.
Hear that again.
This is the ideal state of Israel, the state that exile destroys. We're going to talk about exile. The remnant must understand this, because you cannot understand the depth of exile until you understand the height of what was lost. Now, Torah is not meant for everyone to understand.
Come on.
This is a big problem. And until I get you to understand the reason behind that, things will get easier for you. I want to give you the understanding. Torah is not designed for universal understanding. That's not arrogance. It's the structure Yah himself set. And once you see that structure, everything about misunderstanding, overlays, confusion will make sense. Torah was given to a covenant people, not to the whole world. Torah is not a covenant document given to, Torah is a covenant document given to a specific nation with a specific identity, with a specific inheritance. It was never.
So, like I said, when you come across somebody, and if you've been around long enough, you can see everybody ain't getting this. So, it's ain't no emotional party. You ain't got to get emotional, because if they ain't getting it, that's your sign right there. You know, you continue to deal with them, but none of this is about emotion. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Meant to be a universal religious text or a global philosophy or book for every nation to interpret however they want. When people outside the covenant try to interpret it, they naturally collapse the categories. They read it literally. We talked about this. They impose foreign doctrines and they create overlays because they're reading a covenant document without the covenant. Even inside Israel, understanding was not given to everyone.
Okay.
Torah itself shows that. Some hear, but they don't understand.
Okay.
Some see, but they don't perceive. Some have closed hearts.
Exactly.
Some have veiled minds. Understanding is a gift.
Exactly.
It's not a guarantee.
That's your cue.
This is why the prophets understood. The priests understood. The wise understood. But the masses often did not.
Right.
Torah understanding is functional. It's not democratic. The text itself says understanding is withheld from some.
Check it out.
Throughout scripture, you see this pattern. Their eyes were closed. Their ears were dull. Their heart was hardened. A veil was placed over their understanding. This is not random. It's intentional. Because understanding is given to the obedient. Y'all stay with me.
Check it out.
The humble, the covenant aligned, and the ones who seek with clean motives.
Clean motives.
That's not everyone. This is why overlay exists. When people who are outside the covenant, outside the Hebrew worldview, outside the symbolic reading, outside the ancient categories, try to interpret Torah, they create Christian overlays, Greco-Roman timelines, modern prophecy charts, 1619 doctrines.
Okay.
I emphasize that for a reason. 70 AD misapplications, and check this, literalist readings. I've discussed that with you. Category collapses because they're reading a Hebrew symbolic text.
Check it out.
With a Western literal mind.
They ain't thinking like a Hebrew.
They were never meant to understand it at that level. This is why I see what others miss. I'm not smarter. I'm not better. I'm not more spiritual. I'm simply aligned with the covenant. I'm reading with Hebrew categories. I'm removing overlays. I'm restoring the symbolic structure. I'm honoring the text's original worldview. That's why the 400-year confusion broke wide open for me. That's why 70 AD snapped into the correct category with me. That's why I can see the difference between seed development, bondage, exile, diaspora, and judgment. Most people collapse all of that into one category because they were never given the framework to separate them. The truth is that Torah is not intended for universal understanding. It is intended for covenant understanding. And even within the covenant, only those with clean categories and restored eyes will be able to see it clearly. This is why my teaching matters. I'm not teaching everyone. I'm only teaching the remnant, the ones whose eyes are open. Understanding is limited. Here's why Christians don't get it. New Testament believers are reading a covenant that was never given to them.
Exactly.
New Testament believers are outside that covenant. They're reading a text not addressed to them. Right. They're interpreting it through Greek categories, and they're applying it universally.
Right, they're in a whole nother room.
So naturally, they misunderstand Torah. They collapse categories, never even realizing what they've done. They create the overlays. They misread prophecy because they don't recognize Torah symbolics. They misplace timelines. It's not because they're bad. It's because they're not the intended audience. Their entire framework is built on replacement categories. New Testament believers are taught the covenant is changed, the law has ended, and Israel was replaced. The church inherited the promises, and the prophets are pointing to a new religion.
Ain't that so?
And last but not least, they believe the Torah is not binding. None of this comes from Torah. These are Greco-Roman overlays placed on top of Hebrew categories. So when they read Genesis 15, Deuteronomy 28, the prophets, the exile, the restoration, they interpret everything through Rome, the church, salvation doctrines, spiritualized meanings, universal applications. This guarantees misunderstandings. This is why they misread 70 AD.
Right.
To a New Testament believer, 70 AD is the end of the old covenant.
Right, so right here, I've been beating this up forever. 70 AD, 400-year prophecy, all has been on Prophets of Awakening, has been beat up.
70 AD is proof to them the law is finished. 70 AD is judgment on the Jews. 70 AD is the beginning of the church age. None of that is Torah. In Torah categories, 70 AD is a covenant curse, part of the long exile that we're going to talk about. Not a new covenant, not a new religion, not a prophetic countdown, and most certainly not a fulfillment of Genesis chapter 15. They misread it because they're using New Testament lenses instead of Torah lenses. This is why they misread the 400 years. New Testament believers often treat Genesis 15 as a slavery prophecy. They tie it to Egypt only. They tied to 70 AD. They tied to the church age. They tied to spiritual symbolism. They tied to salvation narratives. All of that is overlays. Genesis 15 is seed development, identity formation, affliction as strangers, ending at the Exodus. It has nothing to do with Rome, the church, 70 AD, the diaspora, salvation doctrines. What this means for them spiritually, New Testament believers can be sincere, but sincerity doesn't give them covenant understanding. They can love the Creator, they can pray, they can worship, they can seek truth, but they cannot interpret Torah correctly. They cannot understand Hebrew categories. They cannot grasp covenant structure. They cannot read prophecy accurately. They separate seed development from exile, distinguish judgment from restoration. They can't do that. Why? Because they're using foreign framework. It's like trying to read a Hebrew scroll with Roman glasses. What this means for me as a teacher, I'm not responsible for convincing them, arguing with them, converting them, debating with them, or proving anything to them. Why? Because Torah understanding is not intended for everyone. It's intended for the remnant, the covenant aligned, the ones who restored, the one with restored categories, the ones whose eyes are open. New Testament believers who cling to their framework will not understand me. And they are not supposed to. My assignment is to teach the remnant, purify categories, remove overlays, restore the architecture, protect the mental environment, not to awaken those who choose to sleep in late. Understanding is selective, even among the chosen. Torah itself says Israel lacked the heart to understand. Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 4. But Yah has not given you a heart to know, eyes to see, or ears to hear unto this day. This is devastatingly clear. These are Israelites he's speaking to. They're standing in the covenant. They heard the commandments, but understanding was not given to them. The text explicitly says the ability to perceive is something Yah gives, not something everyone automatically has. This is the strongest Torah proof. Torah shows Yah intentionally hides understanding.
Okay.
Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 16 to 18. Yah tells Moses that Israel will turn aside. And when they do, he will hide his face from them. When Yah hides his face, understanding collapses. Discernment disappears. Israel becomes confused and vulnerable. This is not about Gentiles. This is Israel losing access to understanding. Torah shows Yah gives wisdom selectively. Exodus 31, verse 2 to 3. Bezalel is filled with wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, but only because Yah filled him. Not everyone received this. Torah's pattern is that understanding is a gift. That's the pattern. It's not a universal baseline. Torah shows Israel is not for everyone. Proverbs 28, verse 5. Evil men do not understand judgment. Understanding is moral, not merely intellectual. It is withheld from certain people. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 22 to 29. Fools reject wisdom, and Yah refuses to give it to them. Hearing is physical. Understanding is spiritual. Both come from Yah, not from intelligence or ethnicity. Israel's covenant status does not guarantee understanding. The remnant is defined by those to whom Yah gives understanding, not by bloodline alone. This is why the remnant is always small. So what does it take to gain understanding? Obedience first.
Check it out.
Then understanding. Now check this out. What about Israelites who don't understand, but they obey anyway?
Okay.
Torah actually has a category for them.
Check it out.
And it's one of the most important categories in the entire covenant structure. Torah separates understanding from obedience. Torah never says only obey if you understand. Understanding is required before obedience. Torah never says that. Torah never says those who don't understand are rejected. Right. Instead, Torah says do, and then you will understand.
Hang in there. Hang around. Okay.
This is the pattern of Exodus 24 and verse 7. We will do and we will hear and understand. This means obedience is the foundation. Understanding is the reward. So someone who obeys without understanding is not outside the covenant. They're on the path toward understanding, even if they don't have it yet. Torah has a category called the simple, not wicked, just undeveloped. The simple are not condemned. They are protected by obedience, even if their understanding is not yet open.
Exactly.
This is why Torah says, oh, that they had such a heart in them to fear me and keep my commandments. Do something. You don't have to understand what you're doing and why yet, but just do what I tell you to do. And that understanding that you wish for, you seek for, it will come. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 29. He does not say, oh, that they understood everything. He says, oh, that they would obey. Obedience without understanding is still covenant loyalty. This is the childlike posture that Yah loves. You don't fully grasp the why, but you trust the one who commanded, so you obey anyway. That's a smart move. This is the seed of the remnant. Understanding may come later, or it may not, but obedience keeps them inside the covenant. You get what I'm saying? Those who obey without understanding are not the same as those who reject Torah. This is the key distinction. A person who obeys without understanding is humble. They say, I don't get it yet, but I'm going to do what Yah says anyway.
Okay.
A person who rejects Torah because they don't understand is proud. They say, if I don't understand it, it must be wrong or outdated.
I'm gone.
The first one is teachable. The second one is rebellious. Protected. Those who reject Torah because they don't understand it are proving they lack the heart that Yah gives. It's not a prophecy about the scattered remnant. It's a prophecy about the seed before they become a nation.
Here we go.
Torah does not name that land or any modern dispersion. All of those are identity overlays and are not Torah categories. Becomes a nation. Are y'all following me? So the 400 years cannot refer to the transatlantic slave trade, the Americas, the Caribbeans, Europe, Africa, or any modern dispersion. All of those are identity overlays and are not Torah categories. The 400-year prophecy, again, it's pre-nation, pre-Torah, pre-Exodus, pre-scattering, and pre-curses. It's not a prophecy about the scattered remnant. It's a prophecy about the seed before they become a nation. Torah does not name that land where the 400-year slavery occurred. It only describes it as a land not theirs, where they will be enslaved and afflicted for 400 years. Everything beyond that, Egypt, America, 1619, diaspora, is later interpretation, not Torah.
Right, so that's right there. That's what I want to deal with. Okay, so we're going to go to Genesis 15. I want to make this point. Like I said, it's a lot of good meat in here. So I had to deal with this right here. Okay, so I'm in Genesis, right? Genesis 15. Make a couple of points, then we'll pick a scripture. Okay, so it says, I'm going to start at verse Genesis 15:7. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee up out of the land of the Chaldeans to give thee this land to inherit. And he said, Lord God, we know that that's Michael. Whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took it unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds he divided not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and a lower horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, so it's Lord of hosts talking to Abraham. He said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years, right? These are 400 years. What the brother is saying that the land, and it's not Egypt, and the land is not identified. So here we go. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. Then 15, and thou shalt go to thy, so he talking to Abraham, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Abraham will pass away. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. Now here go the dagger. In the fourth generation, they shall come hither again for the iniquity of Amorites. It's not yet full. So who the Amorites? The Canaanites. Where they at? They in Egypt. They in Africa. Okay, keep going. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between them. So you say, what are you talking about? Okay, well, he tell you the Amorites. So what the Amorites do? What's the iniquity of the Amorites? It's also in Jasher. He keep going to Jasher, right? So I'm gonna go to Jasher, right? Here we go. So what happened was Canaan ended up stealing the land. Canaan stole the land that was given to Shem on his way to his land. When the land was allotted, Shem stole the land of Canaan. Canaan stole the land of Shem. Okay, that's the iniquity. So he's taking them back they go into captivity. When they come out of captivity, in the fourth generation, Moses and Joshua and Caleb, they destroyed the Canaanites. That's what he's talking about right there. So the land is identified. But this is my point. And he said the 400 years is not pointing to Egypt. Okay, look at this. This what I mean by thinking like a Hebrew. So if you go to the book of Jasher, then you'll see he's following the 400 years, right? So here we go in 63, it says, in the hand of all Egypt. This is 63 and 3. And the hand of all Egypt became more grievous in the days after the children of Israel, and Egyptians injured the Israelites until the children of Israel were weary of their lives on account of the Egyptians. Now here you go, 4. And it came to pass in those days, in the 102nd year of the Israelites going out in Egypt. So why is he telling you that? Because he's keeping account. But same way he did in the East, same way he did in Babylon. They're going to be there for 70 years. And I showed you how he keeping account. He tells you in Ezekiel that Ezekiel says in the 5th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim. So he 5 years into the 70 years. And right here, he 102 years into the 400 years. So you say, what are you talking about? Let's keep going. I'm in 75, Joshua 75. At that time, in the 180th year, so this is 180 years into the 400 years. In the 180th year of the Israelites going down into Egypt, there went forth from Egypt valiant men, 30,000 on foot from the children of Israel, who were all of the tribe of Joseph, of the children of Ephraim, the son of Joseph. So what's going on right here is these Ephraimites, they leaving before the 400 years is up. They disrespecting what was told to Abraham. Then the next verse says, for they said, here you go, they said the period was completed, which the Lord had appointed to the children of Israel in the times of old. That's Abraham. See that? Which he had spoken to Abraham. Okay? Then we'll go one more place. So right in here in the book of Joshua, you follow the narrative. So here you go again. I'm in chapter 76, verse 12. So Moses went forth from the land of Cush, and he went home, and he ceased to reign over Cush. And Moses was 66 years old when he went out of the land of Cush. For the thing was from the Lord for the period. Here you go. The period. This was Genesis 15. For the period had arrived which he had appointed in the days of old, that's Abraham, to bring forth Israel from the affliction of the children of Ham. So he identified who they are. And so, like I said before, this all through Joshua, pointing to the 400 years that's in Egypt. Okay. So let me get one more. Just for GP. So yeah. Let me get one more. So like I was saying before, he's talking about the 400 years. You have to put it on. You have to put it on. It's in Egypt. It happened in Egypt. Okay, here you go. Right here. It says this chapter 66. That in the 13th year of the reign of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, which was the 125th year of the Israelites going down into Egypt, Shemelah had reigned over Edom 18 years. So this whole thing, when you read it right, you can see that they following following the 400-year prophecy from Abraham. In the book of Joshua, they following what the Lord of hosts told Abraham, which is the 400 years. So the 400 years happened in Egypt, like I said. And you have to understand that in order to really get out to the meat and rightly divide this. Okay. Any comments, questions? Everybody good? Okay. So with that being said, what I want to do is we're gonna pick a scripture and then we'll break that scripture down and then we'll close out. So if you want to watch that video, like I said, I posted it on. You want to watch the entirety of it? I posted it on our messenger. And the name of it is the 400-year captivity deception is a lie. Okay. And like I said, the information is good, but I just wanted to go in a little further in that situation to go all the way in on it, because I've been screaming this for ever and a day. Okay. Somebody got scripture? Let me deal with this right quick. Yeah. So brother says, this is Bree. I see it like listening to your parents you trust. I may not understand why eating vegetables and breaking and bathing needed, yet the child knows the parent is loving and wanting to keep it okay. I'm bedazzled on that one. Okay, the other one. Yes, yes, children. Okay, let me get on. Okay, somebody got a scripture they want to read? Yeah, let me get this right quick. Go ahead.
Excuse me, sir.
Go ahead.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom. I'm going to read out of Leviticus chapter 20, verses 7 and 8. Keep God's statutes. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be ye holy, for I am the Lord your God. And ye shall keep my statutes and do to them. I am the Lord which sanctify you.
Okay, you got a comment on it?
I do have a comment on that. As you're reading the messages in the chat, and one of the messages was, how can you obey instructions you don't understand? Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to deal with. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna let you deal with that, then, Brother Leonard.
Nah, go ahead.
No, sir. Yes, sir. I was just going to say Thursday on the women's line, we talked about the book of Leviticus, right? And how simple that understanding was. It's not hard to understand the book of Leviticus. All the laws and commandments, the judgments that's in the book of Leviticus, that is what keeps us holy, keeps us separated from other nations, even with being in this land. It tells us about clean and unclean foods. It tells us Israel is to keep God's ordinances, right? It tells us the purification times of the woman. I mean, it tells us a lot in Leviticus on how we even should conduct ourselves.
Right.
So that understanding to me is very simple. No one has to explain that to me, and the Lord of hosts did not make that difficult for us to understand. He gave us those laws, commandments, those judgments in Leviticus for us to be separated, to be set apart. That is what set us apart from other nations when it comes to being a Hebrew Israelite.
Right, exactly. We make it, as humans, we make it difficult because, like I was just saying earlier, we get emotional. We put emotion in it. We're emotional and do with it. So the brother says that how can you obey an instruction? So when you understand, like I've said over and over on this line, the angels, Yahweh, all them, they spirit beings, they in another dimension. They come from another dimension, this dimension. Words, same way. Words in another dimension. Most High word, the law, is in another dimension. So you can be obeying something and not understanding it, but those are seeds. It's gonna come a point in time, if, like he said, you steady being obedient and you steady sticking and clinging to the Lord of hosts, and then eventually it comes to life. And I can guarantee you, everybody on this line has experienced that. Things been classes you had classes where things was revealed to you, but you didn't really understand it. Then 2-3 months later, it take root. And then and when it happens like that, you can't never forget it because of the way you received it. And like he said, that's tied to Hebrews, the Israelites, the Most High doing this. It ain't for everybody. So somebody that don't understand that, it don't make any sense. But over and over again in my walk, that's how it happened. Like for example, what I did this morning with JFK. The creator, it was me from my studying years of studying. I realized that these people they're the basic species. They the ones killed. They've been killing people from the beginning of history all the way to today. They killed, like I said, they killed Julius Caesar, and they the ones killed JFK. And lo and behold, today, boom, I get the video showing you that I didn't know that JFK had a conflict with the Israeli people over trying to get nuclear weapons. Yeah, that's why they killed him. Right, he said right after that, 6 months later, he died. Right after that, they got nuclear weapons. They the ones killed him. And everything you see going on behind the scenes, these folks is tied to it. And once it get exposed, now it's a problem. Okay. Anybody else got anything?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. The sister in the chat, you have her up now. Forgive us, sister.
Okay.
She said, can you explain Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, please, sir?
Hold up, let me get out of this right quick. Okay. 4 and 7?
Yes, sir.
Proverbs 4 and 7. Okay. Okay, excuse me. Okay. 4 and 7. Okay. It says wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all that, get understanding. So when you understand what it, like I said, Creator is he the one that gives wisdom. It's contrary to what people might think, like the guy was talking about with Greek overlays and all that. It's not wisdom is not a woman. In the beginning, the Creator created 7 holy angels. These angels are the one dispensing, just doing all this. It's not, that's Greek mythology. When you start dealing with wisdom, Astaroth, all that's paganism. But let's go to, I just went there, and I want to shine a light on it again. I'm in Isaiah. So like I said, David is dead and gone, right? I'm in Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. Let me get it. Okay, chapter 11. So it says, it's the righteous branch of the reign of Jesse. The righteous branch of the reign of Jesse is not Jesus. It's Jesse had David. So this is about David. And David dead right here in chapter 11. David dead. And there shall come forth a rod. There shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse. A branch shall grow out of his roots, as David. Now here go how you get the wisdom. The spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. That's Michael. The spirit of wisdom. See that? And understanding. The spirit of counsel and might. The spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. Then 3. And he shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes. He shall not judge by the sight of his eyes. Neither shall he reprove after the hearing of his ears. This is another wisdom. This is wisdom I'm talking about. that the Most High dispensed to you. Okay, and he says, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor and reprove with the iniquity of the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. So when you understand this is David. And so what is he talking about? You go to 2nd Ezra. Ezra saw a man come up out of the sea. It was David. It's pertaining to this. It was we know when Ezra left out of Babylon, he told Ezra to get 7 different 8 or 12 different men to go with him, and he gave Ezra a quick understanding, the knowledge of all of the books, and Ezra spoke it, and he had these scribes that with him. They wrote it down. That's the different wisdom than what the pagans gave us. You have to understand that. So you can be information, like my example was, you can have a bank robber that robbed a bank, and he got a motel room, and he hid all the money, dug the floor up in the motel, hid the money in there, closed the floor back up. Then he got caught. Nobody know the money in there. So day after day, year after year, people come in there, living in that room, staying in that room, don't know the money in there. Okay? But if somebody give you the understanding, somebody tip you off and say, yo, it's a dude robbed that bank forehand. He said somebody robbed it, and he took the money and he hid it. The police called him, but it's the money hid in the room 200. Okay, now you got the knowledge been given to you. Now you go in there to the room and you go looking for it because you had foreknowledge. Knowledge was given to you before you went there. So now you go in there, unlike everybody else, you got foreknowledge that was downloaded to you. So you go in there and you go in there looking there, digging there, uncover the flow, and there the money is. But you had hundreds of people went before you, they ain't know that. They didn't have that knowledge. That's what this is. So, and that's how the Most High works. When you pray for it, then He's gonna send somebody to bring it to you. Or He's gonna bring you to the place where you're gonna run into that knowledge. And then it's where you at, whether you receive it or not. Whether it's thick. That's how they work. It don't work like that with pagans in this pagan world. And I can contest to that because that's what happened to me. Anybody else got anything? Does that make any sense?
It makes sense. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sometimes, Brother Leonard, I think that we don't get an understanding. Sometimes people say and do things that is not right, but we know on this channel you have taught us to take out the meat and throw away the bones. So understanding is comprehension. That's understanding, right? Wisdom comes from the Lord of hosts, right? So like you say, when we pray for that wisdom, He's going to give it to us so that we do understand. But again, when we go to the book of Leviticus and it tells us about clean and unclean food, me being able to read, my comprehension level of that understanding is not difficult. I don't need a scientist or a professor to break that down to me. So, sometimes, when we're listening to things, we really take it and we run with it. So it's our comprehension level plus the wisdom that gives us, the understanding that we need. Shalom, everyone.
Right. So they say that the brother in the video said, obey even if you don't understand. So right here, when you see this here, and you're saying that it don't correspond with the wisdom of Proverbs, saying, well, some must be wrong Proverbs. That's when you understand Proverbs. People that read Proverbs say wisdom is a woman. We know damn well that ain't the truth. So it's something, like I was saying, people think that they go to the scriptures without understanding what has happened. People have this thing was butchered. Our records was, our understanding was butchered, and it's the same wisdom that I'm talking about, the way that you can rightly divide it. The spirit, the wisdom that comes from the Creator. In these last days, he's dealing with the remnant, and you can rightly divide it. So, like I was saying, it don't add up because I didn't experience it myself. You got, when you're dealing with Proverbs, a lot of the wisdom in Proverbs is coming from Greek sages and all that. You gotta be able to rightly divide it. So, like I said, they ain't adding up.
Shalom.
Okay.
Brother Leonard, I had Jeremiah 31 through 33. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand and bring them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant that day that they broke, though I was their husband, declares the Lord. Verse 33. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And I read that verse too, again, in line with the video you played and what you've been saying. And Sister Michelle, we'll get understanding. He didn't say I'm going to write understanding. I'm going to write my law. So I'm giving you my law to follow. And Brother Leonard, as you've already mentioned in another passage, the wisdom, that understanding, that knowledge will come from the Lord of hosts.
Exactly.
But what we've seen with David, who will rise again, as we all know, is that he was righteous, and righteous means you were following the law. So David had wisdom because he was following the law. So we don't need to worry about getting it.
Right.
As you said, the Lord of hosts will give it to the righteous, and the righteous are the people following the law. So much so that his covenant in the end times with the Israelites is that he's going to put the law within them. That's how we're separating people after that, because you have the law and you choose to follow it. It doesn't say have it and then understand it. It says have it and follow it.
Right.
Shalom.
Exactly. Right. So let me read this before we close out. This is I'm always reading this. Let me get it. Since chapter 2 Samuel 22, this is David had a vision of what was going to happen to him after he passed away, right? And it says, David spake unto the Lord in the words of this song, right? In the day that the Lord had delivered him out of the hands of his enemies and out of the hands of Saul. And he said, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, the God of my rock. In him will I trust. He is my shield and my horn of my salvation, my high tower, my refuge, my savior. Thou savest me from violence. Now here you go. I will call on the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. When the waves of death, this when he died, compassed me, floods of ungodly men made me afraid. So that's these wicked spirits from these giants. We know a giant died, that's a spirit come from him. Enoch tells us that spirit can't ascend into heaven. It's bound to the earth. So when David passed away, him being the Messiah, they tried to hold him they try to hold him to the earth or hold him in hell. So he says in 6, the sorrows of hell compassed me. That's these wicked spirits. The snares of death prevented him from rising, ascending into heaven. In my distress, I called upon the Lord, and I cried to my God, and he did hear me out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled, and the foundations of the heavens moved and shook, because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, fire out of his mouth, devoured coals were kindled. He bowed the heavens also, came down, darkness was upon his feet. right? And he rode upon the cherub, and he did fly, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind, and he made a darkness pavilion round about him, dark waters, thick clouds of the sky, and through the brightness before him were coals of fire kindled. The Lord thundered from heaven. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice, and he sent out arrows and scattered them. He scattered these wicked spirits, lightning, and discomfited them. And the channels of the sea appeared, and the foundations of the world were discovered at the rebuking of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostril. Now here you go. He sent from above. He took me, this David. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemies and from them that hate me, for they were too strong for me. They prevented me in the day of my calamity when he died. But the Lord was my stay. Now I'm going somewhere. He brought me forth also into a large place, delivered me because he delighted in me. Now here you go. Right here. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness and according to my cleanliness. That's because he was obedient, stayed obedient. And my righteousness, according to the cleanliness of my hands, have he recompensed me. So, for I have kept the ways, here you go. I have kept the ways of the Lord. I have not wickedly departed from him. For I have kept the ways of the Lord. I have not wickedly departed from him. For all his judgments were before me. And as for his statutes, I did not depart from them. I was also upright before him. I have kept myself from mine iniquities. Now here you go. Therefore, the Lord have recompensed me according to my righteousness and according to my cleanliness in his eyesight. So what did he do? He recompensed righteousness on him, like we just read in Isaiah chapter 11. Quickened him with wisdom, might, and understanding. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom to everybody. We at our two hour mark, and we got our Shabbat class, our evening Shabbat class this evening. So if anybody want to come in and join us, or you want to come in through YouTube to Prophets of Awakening, or you want to come in through and get more engaged, you call 337-802-0889, and we can start sending you the link where you can be more engaged. Okay. So with that being said, I want to say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see everybody this evening at 6 o'clock.
Shalom.
Okay. I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.